Today's video is filled with autumn's charm as pumpkins and apples are transformed into enchanting Cinderella muffins, into spiced sauces and butters, and all without a fairy godmother anywhere in sight.
Does somebody find that vintage love?
I'd rather sit on a pumpkin and have it all to myself than be crowded on a velvet cushion. Henry David Thoreau.
It's the fall. The unfallen apples hold their brightness a little longer into the blue air, hold the idea that they can be brighter. Galway Canal.
In the little house where the Pixies have excitedly donned boots and sweaters in anticipation of autumn's official arrival, the air is crisp and the sun's rays are at just such an angle as is befitting of this cozy time of year. And while I would like to be able to tell you all of this is true, it just simply is not. It is a fact that the Pixies are determinedly dressing for cool weather, with me even having to have removed a thick furry scarf from around the golden pixie's neck before allowing her out of the door. Nature just hasn't yet got the message, and thus continues to be sticky and warm, like maple syrup that's been heated before being drizzled over pumpkin waffles. And if the air had that decency to have the aroma of maple clinging to it, the entire situation might be tolerable. But it does not, and so it isn't. Under the circumstances, we did the only thing we could do in such an insufferable predicament. We rose before the sun could catch on to our intentions, and we headed for Mississippi to pick out pumpkins and boxes of apples, which would become delicious fall treats, and to wander through secondhand stores and antique malls looking for treasures and props for an upcoming annual October event. The golden pixie, who does not approve of mornings that occur before the sun has risen and is at a respectable height above the horizon, makes an exception for adventures and treasure hunting. And since she is not the driver, she can catnap until the sun is fully committed to the day. The drive from southeast Louisiana to Lucedale, Mississippi, and then over to Mobile, Alabama is a bit of a jaunt, but mostly on beautiful back roads dotted with quaint little towns, where treasures abound and where we can pick up fairytale pumpkins, pie pumpkins, and cases of Virginia apples. While we'd much rather pick our own apples, this year's weather has been unkind to the apple crop everywhere within a 5-hour drive of the little house, and our own little apple tree only just now began to bloom. Obviously, drastic steps needed to be taken if we were to replenish our stock of home canned applesauce and apple butter, which was currently running dangerously low. And then there is the pumpkin muffins. Pumpkin muffins are, in actuality, able to be made from canned pumpkin puree. But why make things drearily easy when one can simply throw in a few extra steps and make your own puree straight from the flesh of fresh pie pumpkins? I know what some of you are thinking, and you know who you are, but in my defense, homemade pumpkin puree brings a burst of delicious magic to everything it touches, and thus is worth going the extra mile or 200, or so I think. And the Pixies agree. But then again, any project that requires a road trip and an adventure for completion is immediately embraced as brilliant. You must know your audience. Charlies U-Pik sits off a small winding back road outside the town of Lucedale, and during the summer is filled with seasonal veg that you pick and pay for by the 5-gallon bucket. But in the fall, they are open with limited hours and a select variety of gorgeous pumpkins, winter squash, apples, sugarcane, and already picked end-of-the-summer crops. Giant fairytale pumpkins lounged about in the open-air market, neighboring pie pumpkins piled on top of each other in happy bright orange abandon, while mums with their blooms tightly closed marched in rigid formation at the front of the store. The golden pixie made a beeline for the comfortably sprawled fairytale gourds and immediately found her favorite, who turned out to be not her favorite when another one caught her eye, which was then replaced by her actual favorite. The dark-haired pixie, in contrast, methodically examined the large pastel-colored fruit with an artist's eye until her perfect one was attained. The warrior pixie and her older sibling rounded out our new collection of potential fairy tale carriages with their own choices, and we added to them our pie varieties and 2 cases of apples before heading out to search for treasures amongst the small stores tucked into charming little towns along our route.
I've been to the top of Mount Everest. I've sailed the 7 seas. I've shared the stage with all the best. Lot of good it did for me. I've walked the wall of China, walked till my feet were sore. Came home to Carolina and found my love next door. Well, what do you know? I didn't have to travel the world. Yeah, what do you know? To find a brown-eyed man for a blue-eyed girl. What do you know? Somehow all that I've been longing for was found right here next door to me. Well, what do you know? I didn't have to travel the world. Yeah, what do you know? To find a brown-eyed man for a blue-eyed girl. What do you know? Somehow all that I've been longing for was found right here next door to me. I rode that Trans-Siberian, been shipwrecked and watched ashore. Got travel story Shakespearean, still I found my love next door. Well, what do you know? Oh, I didn't have to travel the world. Yeah, what do you know? To find a brown-eyed man for a blue-eyed girl. What do you know? Somehow all that I've been longing for was found right here next door to me. Was found right here next door to me.
With everything feeling even more fallish on the inside of the little house, it was time to get to work and put up enough applesauce and apple butter to last us at least throughout the next year, and to prepare a pumpkin to be transformed into a muffin rather than a carriage. The pumpkin was given a good bath before being split in half, and because it was a rather seedy character, the Pixies allowed it to spill its guts, helped it clean up its act, and once it had been shaped up and was practically a new gourd, they coated it with a bit of ghee, sprinkled on a bit of Ceylon cinnamon and clove, and snugged it into a hot oven for a bit of a roast. And now all that needed doing was to combine the supporting cast of our Cinderella pumpkin muffins and tuck them into a toasty oven to allow them to rise to the occasion, which will obviously be a tea party. While the muffins were doing their thing, it was the apples' turn to take a bath, and then on to getting spiraled, before heading to play their respective roles, either in a spiced sauce or a butter. Once the pumpkin muffins were finished becoming their best selves and set to cool off a bit, the Pixies set about making tea, setting the table with pots of cream and a dish of maple butter to lather onto their muffins, and with the last task on the list finally checked off, we all gratefully sat down and enjoyed the fruit of our labor. As an aside, I am well aware that I can purchase applesauce at Costco in bulk, pumpkin puree in a can, and that apple butter isn't a necessity for life. Although if you've tasted it, that point might be debatable. But there is something about finding the fresh fruits, bringing them home, and doing the hard work of transforming them into something wholesomely delicious that is magical. And not the kind of magic that transforms a pumpkin into a carriage or a footstool, and rags into ball gowns, but the kind that leaves the doer far richer from the experience. And this, too, I suspect, is all in your perspective. The hard work of prepping whole foods into familiar, much-loved recipes can be a drudgery or an accomplishment. Simply changing the designator can make all the difference. I think there is a deep satisfaction in creating something that nourishes the ones you adore, and even when the work is, well, a lot of work, as I'm sure you know from your own experience, it becomes a delightful task when you're surrounded by the right companions and the right perspective. At the end of the day, or 2 or 3, we've tucked a few more experiences beneath the Pixies' belts and continued on the path to focus them not on the difficulties of the tasks, but on the worthwhileness of developing skills, all the while having a ball doing it. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you too are embracing the changing of the season and surrounding yourself with the coziness of tradition or trying something brand new that will fill you with joy. We hope you'll consider liking our video, commenting, and if you have not already, subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate your comments and the time you make to watch the videos. Thank you again from all of us in the Little House and the Pixies too. See you next time.
Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 9:10.